Good evening, all. I am Coach A, your host, here with the co host who actually runs this show tonight, Atalia Armstrong. We are at Coaching You For You at What Trenton Really Makes, and we are live on YouTube right now. Thank you for joining us. Whatever questions you have relative to the discussion we're going to have, please add it onto the screen and we will have the discussion. Otherwise, the discussion will be between Natalia, John, and myself. And so please, on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the share button, and ring the bell for notifications. This is one of those rare occasions when we want you to put all of our business in the street. Natalia, you are live.
Well, thank you for that awesome introduction. As always, I'm Atalia Armstrong, community advocate here in the city of Trenton. We are here, as Annette stated, with retired State Lieutenant John Day. So, John, just introduce yourself and we'll go. Tell us a little bit about.
Okay. Yes, I'm retired Lieutenant John Day from New Jersey State Police. I ran the unit, crime suppression unit, in various cities in Trenton, Irvington, Ewing, Camden, majority inner cities. I'm a graduate of Trenton Central High School. After Trenton High, I went to Grambling State University, where I obtained a degree in criminal justice, and I also played football for the legendary Eddie Robinson. And that I went to the State Police Academy, and graduated in 1988.
Nice. So you recently wrote a book. What was that about?
During the COVID situation was going on, and we had to be quarantined into our homes, and I started reflecting. All I was doing was reading books. And I also work at a funeral home. I work at Campbell Funeral Chapel, Trenton. And COVID was like, it just boom. We were so busy. And with the leadership of Cherie Campbell, the daughter of late John, we saw it through. But during those funerals, you know how people read your obituary and they giving their side of the story about you. So sitting at home, I just said, I'm going to write my own narrative and about my life and ebbs and flows of life. And I started writing my book. And it's so far it's been successful, and a lot of people are commenting on it and they're enjoying it, and they having their teenage sons and daughters reading it that's college, and those inspiring to be in law enforcement and just in life, the things that I went through and how I handle certain things as a child, as a teenager, and as an adult, and as a state trooper in New Jersey State Police, which had a reputation as being a racial organization. And I felt, in my opinion, that I made some positive changes to let them see different cultures, Black, white, Hungarian, Asian, whatever. We had discussions. I wasn't afraid to have discussions about different cultures. And I talk about that in my book.
Nice.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Anna.
John.
Yes, ma'am.
You've done a lot. You've seen a lot. I'd like to ask what one of your biggest lessons was.
My biggest lessons.
So before, let me just shape that a little bit for you, because you have a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the largest part of your experience is having worked for the state police. Yes?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so when I say what one of your biggest lessons was, I asked that question because coming in when you did, as you did, you were up against a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had to say you learned one incredible thing that helped you in your career, what would it be?
I would say listening to mentors and people that I felt that really best interests, and I focus on the leadership that I had in charge, and my lieutenants, the ones that I felt that cared. Like some people really, had an attitude, didn't want to teach you the right way as far as your law enforcement career. But
Go right ahead. I have severe allergies,
I had
and I had the nerve to go outside today.
It is one great thing. I had a captain. He was from Trenton. His name was Al Tesla, and he was a Hungarian.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he played basketball for Trenton Catholic, and he played basketball against Harold Hall. And Harold Hall told him about me when I first got in the academy. So he introduced himself to me. He said, "Hey, friends with Harold Hall." So that was one of the mentors that I had that I listened to, and the right way to go, and don't do this, because I made a couple of mistakes when I first got into the state police, and
only a couple.
Yeah, I made a few mistakes.
I made a ton of mistakes in my career.
One of the mistakes, that's one thing I learned. I was 23 when I became a New Jersey State Trooper, and I was well known since the 5th grade. I played football and hung out, but when I became a trooper, I didn't realize once you become a New Jersey State Trooper, you're in the glass house. So you don't realize how people envy you and try to feed into the negativity. So I got a couple of fights, a couple of verbal disputes, and they were running back to my job and trying to build a case, but having internals. So one of the big things I learned, and I tell young anybody in law enforcement, anybody with a successful job, you got to watch how you interact after people look at you as like successful, like you're in leadership. Everything you do, people, it's magnified, and that's one of the things I learned, that don't feed into the negativity, because people you think your friends are not.
I think that that's a very good lesson. Actually, I know it is. You said you made a few mistakes. I made quite a few, and learned some tremendous lessons as a result of it. And listening, was really important, and so was mentorship. I'm glad to have you here tonight, and I want to, talk about that a little bit more. But before we do, I want to ask the question of Trenton residents, of which both you, Italia, and I are one. Let's ask the question about what people need, what them and their families need, because your book speaks to the challenges we've all had.
Right.
And I want to come back around to that book, if that's okay, Italia.
That's fine with me.
I want to come back around to that book. But as a resident, what would you say, having grown up in the city, Italia, what would you say you and your family need?
So I think right now what we need most is safety, and we need to feel secure here in our great city. I don't know, I think back to when I was a kid here in Trenton. I think we've always kind of had like crime issues and the similar issues that we face today. Of course, they've gotten worse. I just don't know if, as a kid, I was focusing on those things. In fact, I know I wasn't. So I look back with, I look back at my childhood and I'm like, oh, Trenton used to be so great. And it was. And I think that Trenton still is great. But I think right now in my space, I'm looking for security. That's what I'm looking for. So I need to be able to feel safe as I travel throughout the city. That may not be what other residents are looking for, but that's something that I'm looking for. And I remember having it when I was younger. So I look back at those times and compare them to today, and I just wonder what happened.
That's a good question. What happened? John, how about you? What would you and your family need today?
Well, like Taya was saying, when I grew up in Trenton on East Ingham Avenue by the baseball field, we had a family. It was families within the neighborhood. You know, we had Mr. Target, Mr. Belly, Duke across the street, and we played Bob Out the Can, hide and go seek, you know, and stuff like that.
We play
Wait,
what?
what's Baba the Can?
You know,
Wait a minute. Stop it. What is that?
it's when you put the rocks in the can, you hide, and then when you can get to the can, you shake and say Bob Out the Can, and then
No,
the next
I've
get
never.
I've never heard of that. Okay, sorry about that. Keep going, sir.
we had
Baba
neighborhoods,
the Can.
and
Okay,
we had neighborhoods, and we showed love and we showed encouragement, and
right.
we seen people work. Like we seen, well, my grandparents raised me, but they went up and went to work. Like I said, Charlie Williams. We saw people working. They had, you know, American Standard, General Motors, and Roebling Steel, but those guys, even though the factories left before they went on the pathway, they still show love and concern for the kids because they wanted to see you succeed. So I
Right.
think what we need to do now is bring back that love. Like I speak messages, we got to speak to these young kids. We got to say, you know, hello, how you doing, brother? You know, because I spoke to some young boys. They was all, you know, thugged out, tattoos on their face, and I spoke to them, and like they were shocked that I spoke to them. So they was like, what's up? They responded, what's up, OG? And when they see me now, they still speak. So I think we as adults can't be afraid to show love to these kids. We got to unball our fists and start love to each other like we did back in the day.
Do you think it was like easier to like just looking back to when I was younger, it was easier because we knew each other, and you know, like you said, you was naming off some names that that lived on your street when you were coming up, and that's the same for me. We knew each other, so there was, you know, we had a sense of community. I still think we have the community. It's just not the same. And we don't have, like, a lot of the home ownership base have left the city of Trenton. So there was white flight and there was definitely black flight here. So we see a lot of the abandoned homes and stuff. Like, I was just telling a young lady that I was with today, we were walking around the community and I was like, this used to be filled with like life, like cars was riding by, people walking down the street. It was just like life. And we don't really have that anymore. So I don't know. Do you think it's because I think part of it is we do need to like connect with the youth more, just be a little bit more opening, and it's as simple as saying hello. But we don't know who people are like we did back in the day. I hate to say back in the day because I'm younger than you guys, but
Well, you want to be younger anyway. But I think I agree with both of you. I think that safety is job one. However, Natalia, we've had this discussion. Until we can ease the economic anxiety of the residents who live in this city, and by that I mean opportunity and hope presenting itself. We used to be an industrial town, and even more so before John's, what is it, rock the can, or rock can, or whatever it is. Even before then, we were an industrial town, and so jobs were plentiful. They aren't anymore. And for the majority of jobs that are now, they require a skill or a degree that many don't have. Our high school diploma rate needs to improve. And so that comes through the with the opportunity and hope. But I think safety is a big deal. And John, I like what you said about reconnecting with our people, saying hello. And I think the media has done a phenomenal job in making us afraid of even our own. I hope you guys are hydrating because we're under the lights and we're going to have some tough discussion. They've made us afraid of even our own.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say tonight, the media doesn't represent us fairly,
No.
nor does it represent all of us.
Right.
It is true that Trenton has crime. But the thing I want to focus on tonight as we talk about what we need is I need you to understand that whenever anybody different as others see it are in office, are in charge of departments, they're always going to magnify all of the faults.
Mm-hmm.
And rarely will they tell you, you can agree to disagree, but rarely will they tell you about the good stuff people are doing who don't look like them.
Right.
The faults will always be magnified, and there will be times when they will make a person larger than life to get across that negative publicity. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about Trenton's crime
Mm-hmm.
because we play a role in that. And when I say we, I mean all of us. There's some responsibility. And even if it's just a matter of speaking up and talking about what we need and what we can do. John, disagree with me if it's necessary after I make this statement, and Natalia do the same. If we would stop harboring drugs and guns and clean up in front of our own door, that's 45% of what we got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Help me out. Am I right or wrong?
That's true.
I okay, I don't disagree. I'm just looking at it from a practicality standpoint, like in terms
Mhm.
of you say we all play a role. Um I don't know anyone. I'm a legal gun owner, so I don't know anyone that's
We're
harboring.
all legal gun owners on here, Natalia. All of us.
That's correct, but I thought I'd put that out there. I don't know
20
anyone.
gauge and 9 millimeter in this corner.
I'm not saying what I have, but I have a couple. We I don't know anyone that's harboring guns. I don't know. Like I live on a street where my neighbors care about where they live. I know that's not true all over Trenton, so I don't know the practicality of that statement in terms of a regular citizen like myself. How would I bridge that gap if I don't
So
know anyone that harbors?
that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great one. I like that. See, that's John. That's why she runs this.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good question. How do we, law-abiding citizens who clean up in front of our door and don't have a problem sweeping on both sides, we legally own guns. What role do we play? The only role we play is telling the truth, mentoring, and being a part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that we all play a role, it's not necessarily a negative one. So thanks for giving me the chance to clear that up, Natalia.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Um, the cleaning up of the street. You know what? You do have a point because I was riding up the street. I was coming up. I'm directionally challenged, even though I've lived here my entire life. So, but I was coming up. I guess that's called Broad Street. I can
Was
never.
it north or south? Was it
Mm,
west or east?
I was coming from work, coming to home. So I don't know. I was coming up into downtown Trenton, and the car in front of me threw out like an entire. I don't know if it was McDonald's chip. I don't know what it was, but it was like a bag of trash. And I was just like, well, damn. I'm like, I didn't mean to curse. I was just like, well, wow, threw it out like it was nothing and just kept it moving. So I do think the respect level has diminished. The respect for just where you live, and to keep it clean has definitely diminished. I think we are living examples of that. I know I do not throw trash out of a moving vehicle. And if I have
Mhm.
trash in my hand, I try to put the trash in the trash can. So I'm living by example. I don't know if that's sufficient enough. The people
Of
in my
course. It
circle,
is.
the people outside of my circle are just like me in that regards. So John, how do we bridge the gap? Like, I don't know. You're out in the streets. You're like literally out in the streets. How do we?
So my thing is, like I said, right now I just focus on being an example, like just talking to the youth, and I never forget when I lived on West 8th Street, 474 on the corner. I was sweeping in front of my house, and while I'm sweeping on the curb in front of the house, this guy walked by and took a wrapper and threw it on the sidewalk. If you don't get that wrapper, he said, I wasn't even thinking. He picked it up and put it in the trash. But like being on West 6th Street, I was just trying to set an example and clean up in front of your home. And people say, I see you out there cleaning in front of your house. So that's why I said we just got to set examples and talk to kids. Because like on the I never forget one time we had a funeral at Shiloh, and I went down the Spring Street and to a bodega down there. It was a fish spot. And it was young people out there. They were sweeping in front of the front of the store, both stores, and the store across the street. And there was a black-owned store spot, and they were out there. I said, "You keeping it tight, honey?" Like, yeah, I'm trying to keep it tight. I'm trying to keep it tight. So it is people out there that's
absolutely
trying to change Trenton. We just got to let that magnifies and that, like I said, show examples of it, and that's we gotta. That's the only thing I said. Communication. Communication is the key, and don't be afraid of these kids. Because these kids, they want love, want to talk. I speak to them the funerals when we have funerals, and like I said, when they turn to go, they pay their respects. When they're young, they might be in their 20, 30. I said, sir, you can go and pay your respects. Then I say the next, sir, and they look at me like this old man calling me sir, but I'm giving them something they probably never got that respect. But I'm giving it to them. You know what I mean? So I just think we should set examples for the youth, and I think it'll rub off if we continue to do it in massive. I can't do it on my own. So hopefully people that's listening to this show tonight give it a shot, because it's not going to happen overnight. Trying to, showing common courtesy and respect for people and changing your mindset to a positive attitude is always somebody that can easily trigger that. And you go right back to the negativity. So you got to work on yourself to work on other people. Hope I'm long-winded.
Oh no, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that last statement. You got to work on yourself to work on other people. But I'm going to go here, Annette, because I just have to, because I talk about it. And me and you go back and forth about it all the time. But, as a tax paying citizen here, like I pay property taxes. I just feel like some of that example should come from our leadership. And I don't feel like it comes from our leadership. I feel like not in terms of behavior. Well, let me see how I can word this.
Yeah,
I just feel like, and let me just put this out here, because I know that right now the city of Trenton is understaffed, and if you don't have a full staff, you can't properly service your community. However, my property taxes are still paid. Like, so I don't get a tax, I don't get a break because they're understaffed. They're still expecting their check, so I'm still expecting a service. And I think that I look at things in terms of like my home, so I compare a lot of things. I look at the world like that. So I'm like, all right, if I treat my home a certain way, whether I have the money to upkeep this house or not, then my children will then follow my lead and treat it a certain way. So if I respect my home, whether I deem it look pretty or not, they will respect the home. And I just feel like the tone of the city has to also put that respect level out there, where we don't, like, don't litter. We don't tolerate, there'll be a fine for littering or whatever we put out there. But we have to like set a tone for that. And then I think it's a ripple effect, because the top has said, we don't tolerate throwing trash out of your car while driving. So I don't know. You usually push back on when I'm trying to say our leadership needs to do more. So that
No,
was
I absolutely agree the leadership needs to do more. But here's what I want to be clear about. Here's what I understand as a former elected official, former being operative. Unfortunately, the city doesn't have the money it needs to provide the service we deserve. Now, I will probably take a hit for that, but I can handle it. The city doesn't have the money to provide the services we need, and they haven't had in a very, very long time. So the only pushback is this: we have a structural deficit. The very fact is are there areas where we can tighten up? Absolutely, without a doubt. There are. However, there are many people on this call excluded who have the idea that the city is fiscally prepared to handle our needs. They're not. And it's not for, I don't care how crazy people are acting, if they are. I don't care how you personally feel about anybody. There are three things we have to look at to turn this city around. Natalia, you have the playbook. We've already discussed it. We have to deal with the structural deficit. That's number one. We have to deal with how our police and fire are paid and managed and where they live. That's number two. Number three is we have to take a look at how we build revenue. We don't really have any.
Mhm.
And then you have people talking about selling or allowing municipalities outside of Trenton to take control of the water department. No,
I
Mhm.
it's
agree.
a source of revenue. And
Mhm.
aside from taxes, we cannot tax our way out of a structural deficit.
I agree.
In spite of taxes and the pilot that the state provides, we are not fiscally prepared because we have a structural deficit. And every time people run for office and this topic comes up, the folks in the city get caught up in the speeches, they get caught up in the people they like. I don't care who sits at City Hall. If that structural deficit is not dealt with, our needs will not be met on a
So
realistic and appropriate level.
I
To
agree
do,
with all that, but how does that translate into um how does that translate for a resident? Because that's where I struggle because I know that. So I even though I know that there's
yep,
still
you got the playbook.
a burden placed upon people like us who pay
Homeowners
right, who pay our
who
taxes,
live here.
who live here, we contribute here, we play, we give our services, we are within the community helping out as much we can. So how do we bridge? I guess that's where I'm struggling and I'm trying to even figure out how do we bridge that because I don't know if it's more transparency on I'm gonna just say the mayor, but I'm not picking on the mayor, on the mayor's part because he's the lead. So how does he bridge that or how do we make that connection in the middle? So like more transparency where he would say, just what you said and make it translate and audible for people like ourselves.
So here we go. This is real simple. Stop electing good speeches because that's what we do.
Mhm.
You elect people who don't come to the table with a realistic plan. All they come to the table talking about is what people did before them.
Mhm.
They don't have a track record to show what they've done. They don't have a track record to show that they are capable of going to that table, when I was in office, L.A. Parker said that my council, the council I worked with, vice president, 12 years, right? I was on 12 years. I think I was the vice president for 4. I can't remember. I'm older now. But the reality is this: say what you want. You may not have liked it. You may not have liked the mayor. You may not have liked the council. They're begging us to come back now, something I would never do. That's number one, because at least there was economic development. Did you like everything that happened with it? No, but it happened. The Pennington Avenue Shopping Center is still functioning. The Hill refrigeration site is still working. The the housing on West End is still occupied. The failure was the Hermitage Avenue Shopping Center. That was a failure, but a failure out of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different projects. We made some mistakes. You have to elect people who understand principles before personalities.
And economic development. And
And
not
well,
turn away
see,
projects. Never mind.
there you go, baby. See, John, you got to listen to her because that's what it's about. Economic development must happen. Get your personalities out the way and get the economic development on the table that will provide jobs and commercial taxes for the city. Develop, develop, develop. It has to happen. We live at the intersection of the Northeast Corridor. Do you know what that means? That train
I know what it
station?
can
Do
mean.
you know what that area means? Natalia, taxes me on this all the time. Do you know what that means? We're at the hub, baby,
Yep.
and we're sitting still, and Trenton is focused on the fighting. Trenton is focused on the fact that the council and the mayor that don't get along. Shame on them.
Right.
They should. But you have a mayor who at least has a plan. That plan cannot be implemented without the partnership of the council.
Right.
And Trenton has focused under the dead impression, that the mayor and the council should not get along. If they don't, the business of the people don't get done. Will they always agree? No, and they don't have to. And they don't have to approve everything. But anybody who spends the majority of their time fighting is wasting your money, your tax dollars, Natalia, my tax dollars. They're wasting our time, energy, and effort. What I don't want to see happen moving forward is that people be elected in an office simply because other people were fighting. What are those new people going to actually bring to the table? Stop listening to the speeches and get into the policy and procedures. And that's something that very few people, Natalia, why do I keep calling you Natalia?
I don't know, but
You don't have to be Natalia. I apologize, Natalia.
But can I say something? But that's what you're right on it. And that my thing is that's what I said. The leadership starts right there at City Hall, and you got to act accordingly. And like you said, just don't go by the fancy speeches. You got to know policy. You got to have civics. You got to, and that's what trickled down because our community see the way our administration is acting. That's not giving our youth hope. Once they see, all them talking about each other and this and that, that's how you going to inspire a kid to come to Trenton, come back and do great things. And how can you bring, like you said, how can you bring back companies to invest in Trenton when they see our leadership at that way? That's the hard thing.
So this is the hardest thing for anybody to accept.
Our
leadership begins with the residents.
Excuse me?
The hardest thing for anybody to accept, John, is leadership begins with their residents because you put them there.
We do have to accept that fact.
I'm sorry. That's a reality. You put them there. You put them there. Now you got to be able to separate the chaff from the wheat and determine those who are strong enough, committed enough to actually get the job done. I don't want to see a mayor sitting in Trenton just because the council disagreed with this current mayor. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a council sitting just because this council couldn't get along, because all you're going to do is repeat the same mistakes. You're going to do the same thing over expecting different results. And so Atalia asked the question, how do we bridge that gap? Stop these fake forums.
Mm-hmm.
These fake forums mean stop these forums where they set up, questions and interviews that just, play tag
Mm-hmm.
and give people a chance to grandstand.
Right.
Ask them what their real plan is.
Right.
Don't allow them to talk about other people. I'm not ashamed of my record. I'll match my record with anybody who's been in City Hall since I've been here. Come for me. I got what you need.
Mm-hmm. But my
I'm
thing
not
is,
concerned about that.
and let me ask you, just like I said, I had mentors in the state police when I first got into the state police. Did anyone come to you? You ain't got to say their names to get the knowledge from you when you were in city council, so they can learn from your mistakes. Okay, you made any mistakes, so did anyone come to you and say, "I want to be tutored or mentored by you to help
I
me"?
have a few,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working with them. I have a few, even now, even in the past. What happens is people get a little bit of the limelight and they
Mm-hmm.
think they have the answers. I'm telling you,
Right.
City Hall is no joke. And
Right.
here's what I want to be clear about. It's always easy to fight the guy that's in the ring because you're not taking the punches. But when
Mm-hmm.
you look at the guy who's taking the punches, has he prepared for the
Mm-hmm.
fight?
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, you can answer that yes or no simply by the work. I don't care how much people fight. If they get the job done, that's all
Mm-hmm.
right with me because, to each his reach. Everybody's not going to get along. But if they
Right.
fight, what development project has happened since I left City Hall? And it's not about me. I'm asking a question
Right.
because I want to know who's doing their homework out there. This is for the audience. What
Right.
development has happened since 2010?
Mm.
Where and how have we done anything to everything the mayor brings to the table they want to fight about?
Right.
They're not helping you. It might be cute for some of y'all who don't know any better, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not helping us.
I agree. I agree because
Elect people who have a plan and make them lay that plan out in the forums. That's the answer to your question, Italian. Make
Mm-hmm.
them lay it out. Don't let them talk that slick talk about, yeah, because it's time for new blood. New blood don't mean nothing if you don't have the history.
Exactly.
It means absolutely nothing. I want to see young people involved. I want to see younger people step to the plate. And yes, there's an opportunity for a learning curve in that. But the learning curve is not a fighting curve. See, I
Right.
don't get in fights unless I intend to take my enemy out. I don't want to be in a fight with anybody. It's a waste of time and energy. I'm a happy person. I'm a Sagittarius. We like to be happy and have fun. That's
Mm-hmm.
real for us. Okay. But I want to get the job done. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a boss woman. I know what I'm doing. I don't have all the answers, but I have a whole lot of them. Here's the other thing, get away from whisper campaigns. A whisper campaign can be very effective to the hostage.
Mm,
The hostage is the person who believes everything they hear without doing any homework.
exactly.
Stop listening to what people tell you and look at what people are doing. You have some people who do nothing but show up, talk, do photo ops. When you ask them what investment they've made, it's because I talk to people. That's not an investment. That's an opportunity. So all I'm answering your question, Italia, is simply this. Hold elected officials accountable before you elect them.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're in office, they're going to do their term. It's
right.
very difficult to remove an elected official unless they've created a criminal act. I don't agree with everybody. I understand some of the reason that folks disagree, but you would think that the only people who disagree are the people in Trenton. That's not true.
Very not true.
Elected officials disagree everywhere. The difference is they don't air their dirty laundry in public. Most of the fighting on my council happened behind closed doors. Some of us went down for the count.
As it should.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't
As it-
always agree. And we did make the sandwich, a turkey sandwich actually, that LA said we were incapable of making together.
Mm-hmm.
We provided the lettuce, the tomatoes, the mayo, the bread, the turkey, and the cheese. And we put that sandwich together and we served him. So all I'm saying is people have to be involved. If you're going to run for office, you have to have a plan. Looking good, talking good is not going to get it. That has failed us over and over and over again.
And
And
not
they got
And
and they got to make that plan now. They like I said in my message, you got to do that plan now. It can't, and we can't be voting for a popularity contest. We can't do it. Like you said, they got to have substance and a plan, not because he played football for Trenton High. You know what I mean? Like they got to have substance. You know?
are we going to have a football program, which is great? Or
Yeah.
we're going to have I'm going to be, when I was on council, this is all, I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope. And listen, for all of you out there, what doesn't apply, let it fly. I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I had a town hall meeting every month to listen to the residents, and I took their voices back to City Hall.
There
I
you
made
go.
a lot of enemies, but I made a lot of enemies because I wouldn't play ball when it did not benefit the residents in this city.
And that's exact. I agree with you 100%. When you get in that seat, you got to do what's right for the people and not listen to the people, like you said, that's outside the ring. And that's what we have
And
to
there
do.
are going to be a lot of people, powerful people,
Right.
here, there, and everywhere, who are going to want to try to tell you what to do
Mm-hmm.
and how to do it. If you simply serve the people and you have a plan. And I'm going to, over the next couple of weeks, Italia, if you will allow, I'm going to share some basics about what a plan looks like.
Beautiful.
Dealing with the structural deficit, policy and procedure. Most people think policy and procedure begin with the elected officials. No, it doesn't. It begins with the people. What are your needs?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody talks about policy and procedures. We get in forums and people says, well, those people failed and they did this. And what have you done?
No, they
And
talk
you
about the park. They talk
and
about
we
the
get
park. They
distracted.
talk,
We get distracted.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
We
that's
get
the
distracted.
And that's another thing too, y'all. The people that's thinking about it. Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to agree with you, and you got to accept that. If you
That's right.
get office and you expect everybody to like you, do not run because you're not. Everybody's not going to love you. And when you haven't pushed back, you're doing your job. You're doing the right thing.
The less people like you, the more you know you're doing something right.
There you go. There you
That's
exactly.
it.
Yep.
So,
And you don't
so
want to be disliked, but that's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reality. The more people dislike you, the more people start their little whisper campaigns
That's right.
that no matter how many campaigns they start, they can't handle it when it happens with them.
And yeah,
But the
and that
bottom line is this: you're not your reputation. Your reputation is what other people think.
that's right.
Your character is what you do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's who makes you. Italia is an advocate for people.
That's right.
Her work, what she's done, the plan that she showed me. Listen, yup, listen, you got something coming.
Mm-hmm.
She's got what it takes. She has the knowledge, skill, and ability. She has the experience. She has some history that's going to bring her right where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Italia has not said that she's going to do anything. But if I could say I'd like to see Italia in office, I mean that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing special except she knows what she's doing. I
That's
need
right.
somebody to sit in City Hall, manage my money, who knows what to do. And
Exactly.
listen, I don't have a problem with the current mayor. Let me put that on the record. Now,
okay.
one, I don't care about his color. I don't care about his preferences. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care about his friends. I care about his policy. I
Mm-hmm.
care about the procedures. I care about setting forth a responsible budget,
There you
whether it
go.
has every little nuance that other people want. That's what I care about. And fairly, no matter how you feel about Mayor Reed Gusciorio. He's done. Did I pronounce his name right? I
No.
can barely pronounce my own
Okay.
writing. So you know what? He's just gonna have to take that. But the bottom line is this: you want somebody who knows what they're doing. One of the reasons in the runoff that I supported Reed is because Reed had the most experience in dealing with the people at the State House. If you don't think that matters, you don't understand politics.
Definitely matters.
Okay?
So just to switch it up a little bit, I talk about policies, practices, and procedures a lot, only because currently y'all know I'm advocating for reparations. So I was, out in the community today, and this is not something that I don't know, but I had someone with me, and the political education, the civic education, the political education here in the city of Trenton is very, it needs work. So, certain people don't even know what reparations mean, and that's policy, and that's problematic. So, just going when you go out into the community and you're dealing with the community and you're talking about policies, practices, and procedures, if the community isn't aware of how those things move and how they work, then I think we'll always kind of have this the way we vote will continue. So I don't know. I was out in them streets today and I was like, I definitely need to come up with another plan because whatever I'm doing is not enough. It is not enough. People are not understanding what policy even means.
So, should we take some time and break this podcast into segments where you speak? Because you have an initiative I don't want to leave without you talking about. And you mentioned it by Trenton.
Yes, but it's going to be by Trenton Week. It's still in the formative stage, but the goal is to keep the money in Trenton, the focus on Trenton. We want to promote Trenton because we love Trenton. At the end of the day, Trenton has her issues. I don't know. I say her. Somebody could say him. I don't know. Trenton has her
Hers
issues.
is good. I like hers.
Trenton has her issues, but there are great people that live here. We do care about our city. Money is a factor, and we do need money to sustain her. But in the meantime, we have to invest in her ourselves. And so that's the goal of Buy Trenton Week. So as I form this more, I will bring more information about it.
I think that's a great initiative by Trenton, and to keep our dollars here. And so having a week, consider a month for crying out loud. That's such a great initiative,
Yeah.
Italia. I mean, you've talked about it. You've talked about building a list for contractors who want to do business in the city. Listen, this is how it works. All that
Yes.
other stuff, those good speeches, John, they're
Yeah.
nice.
Mhm.
And for the record, there's not one person sitting that I don't believe deserves the opportunity to display what they're capable of. And I don't care where that is, but I don't want you to think that the police director can fix the crime. They can't.
Mhm.
That's a partnership with us. That's what I talk about harboring guns and drugs. Guns and drugs are not manufactured here, which means we're harboring them somewhere. And that's an issue. And that's where the residents come in at. And I don't want anybody to be a snitch because snitches get stitches.
Mhm.
But you can at least say to people, not allow people to bring drugs and guns into your home.
Mhm.
That's simple. You don't have to listen. Just don't allow it.
But see, but that's
By, right, John? Go ahead.
yeah, that's one of the things too. Like you said, we're not going to talk about people, so I'm not going to talk about the record. But when they talk about the harboring the guns thing, is that a lot of like a lot of our mothers, we still baby our children, so they know that they out there hustling and they got a gun in the house, but they don't want to. They still on the umbilical cord, and then like I said, working at the funeral home, and then once their son or daughter get killed, they crying crocodile tears. But if you got to prevent that, you got to sit down and talk to your children You got to hug. You got to tell them it's not necessary. And a lot of these young men and women, they're bringing money for these kids. That's why you said we got to give these kids more jobs, more training, so they won't go that route. Because like I was on another podcast, and I told the young lady, going out on the corner selling drugs is easy, but to be successful, you got to put forth effort. You got to go to class. You can. It's a lot. But we got to encourage our kids to take advantage of those grants and of those vocational. I know a young man who went to vocational school doing body work, and he's doing great. He has a family. This guy is doing terrific, but he put forth the effort to go to Votech and get and to work on body. We got to encourage our kids to do that because it's talent out there. It's kids out there can draw. You should see the drawings I see that these young.
Shout out to Andre Williams.
So
Yes,
Natalia, don't forget Andre Williams.
I got him next week.
We got to encourage our kids that it's possible. It's possible. They put forth the effort because a lot of people want to do the right thing. Like I said, when I first became a state trooper, it was people envious of me and jealous of me. So these kids, so they want to put forth effort to do something. You have a plethora of people. Oh, you ain't gonna do that. I don't know why you waste your time. I don't know why you doing that, and it discourages them. They gotta find a mentor or a role model, and that's why we got to carry our stuff in a professional manner because we are inspiring people that we don't even know.
There's no wasted time in working for the good of our community. There's absolutely no wasted time. Right. None.
We got to accept this and give them encouragement.
John, perhaps you would consider starting a program that would encourage our youth to become involved in the arena of trooper, police officer, and anything connected with the law. Andre Williams, started a phenomenal program. He spoke about on a podcast, and Natalia, you have him back next week about trade school. Everybody, listen, college is not for everybody. And although I admire and respect those who get a trade or go to college and get a degree or 2 or 3, the idea is experience, strength, and hope. And that's what I want to offer the city of Trenton. I'm not running for office, but I'll tell you what, as long as I have a mic and a platform, I want to ensure that the people who do are prepared. Right. We have reached our time. And so, John, if you have a last statement you'd like to make, go ahead.
Again, it's mindset. We have to change our mindset, positive mindset, and it starts with you. And don't be afraid to go out there and to be great. And my thing is a lot. We're born to be great, but we're taught to be average. So we got to change the mindset of greatness. And you from Trenton can be great, just like anybody else from Detroit, Chicago, New York. Trenton makes the world take. So we got to keep Trenton. First, we got to change our mindset. And like I said, it's not going to be easy. That's why I said, listen to Earl Nightingale, E.T., Eric Thomas, Jim Rome. Like, you got to work on yourself to build our community. So, and keep listening to me when I get mine. It's out of love.
What's the name of that book?
It's called The Memoirs of New Jersey State Trooper Lieutenant John Day. I'm built on every mistake I ever made. And you can get it on my website, which is Lieutenant, spell Lieutenant out, LIEUTENANT, johnday.com. And you can get it. I'll sign it and I'll mail it to you. So I want to thank you.
So I'm going to purchase one of your books.
All right. Thank you.
Like to wait a minute. Let me ask this. Do you have it? Is it on audio?
No, not yet. Not yet. This is my first book.
Get it
still
on audio.
be a fight.
Get it on audio. For
Mhm.
people like me who like to move around and listen
Mhm.
more than I do the white paper,
Mhm.
get it on audio. I'd like to have that on audio.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, but buy the book now, and then I get the audio. But still buy the book.
I will buy the book.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
absolutely will.
$25. The book $25.
Okay.
And thank you.
Natalia?
Night.
Despite our adversity, we can overcome. That's been shown historically. We are showing it right now. And please support the New Jersey Reparations Task Force bill, because we have a humongous wealth gap that needs to be closed, and it's only going to close through reparations. So thank you.
Mhm.
Natalia?
Did you I already said it. You need me to say it again?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. So, despite our adversity, we can overcome anything. That's been proven historically, and we are currently proving that right now today. And then I said, please support the New Jersey Reparations Task Force bill,
Yes.
because we have a humongous wealth gap, and it's not because of any individual failure. It is because of policies, practices, and procedures. So we have to get that bill produced so we can produce some proposals and move on from this issue. So please support that bill.
We are at What Trenton Really Makes. We are live on Facebook, and we are prepared to have the discussion. Please see us on Sundays at 7:30. Atalia is the host. I am the co-host, actually. John Day will join us again, as will Andre Williams and many others that Atalia chooses. I want to thank you for joining us. I'd like to ask you to hit the subscribe on YouTube, the share, put our business in the street, the like, and the notification bell. Trenton's got talent. There are many people in the city with knowledge, skills, and ability. And one of the things we want to ensure in the next election is that people are sitting who are representing us. I'd like to thank the folks who understand policy and procedures begin with the residents. The residents, as our tagline says, are the most valuable players and the game changers. Be a game changer. Forget the speeches. Look at the policies and procedures. Look at the experience. Look at the strength and look at the hope. I am Coach Annette. I'd like to thank you for being here this evening with us, with Italia and John. Thank you and have a very good evening.
Good night, guys.
Good
Good
night.
night.
And
Thank you, John. Thank you, Italia.
Mhm.